In part one, I reference how the lighting distorts my features. My nose appears crooked, and appearances feed into misconceptions. Right now, I am just as angry as I was in my most angry video. Perhaps not as irritated as I am in some, but the anger is there. But I am in complete control. Even when I am extremely irritated, I am capable of calming down and talking just like this. Now, I do not feel the need to apologize if my last video or my other videos disturb anyone. I apologize if they do not disturb you and you are not raised with the principles of morality that would allow you to be upset at injustice, to have a certain moral outrage. The most guilty ethnic groups and races need to clean house and need to be perhaps the most outspoken of peoples against the injustices of their elite. There are people who are atheists who don't truly believe in the Torah, but believe that their people are superior, so they support Zionism, and they want to create an anti-Jewish sentiment in America that will move all the Jews, or a lot of them, to Israel, so they can continue grabbing land there and create a bigger Zionist Jewish state. For this, they need more Jews. And many of the whites who speak out against Jews and create an anti-Jewish sentiment instead of an anti-secret society, atheist, occultist, satanist, etc. sentiment are helping them do it, willingly and unwittingly as well. Whites need to expose the Satanists, the traitors to God among them. Jews need to expose the Zionists and the atheists among them. This is imperative. This is key. Only then can we truly live in a society where we say that you and you did not benefit from oppression and you stood by us through it all, instead of you and you were playing dumb because you felt it was in your best interest to help them create this globalist socialist state, a future failed socialist state, a failed massive socialist state. And then they'll have Israel. Why the Jews said that they are superior and the rest of the world was inferior. Right now we see different ethnic groups starting to replace whites in key positions of social control. And they are sellouts, just like the whites before them who occupied those key positions of social control. Social unrest is only healthy when the true enemies of humanity are targeted in a surgical, precise manner. If not, they will just bring in a controlled state. I am more on the side of the Black Lives Matter movement, but I am not a part of it because I will not contribute to the downfall of all of humanity just because I want to stand with my people. Instead, I will continue to be hard on everyone who is doing things in a way that will crush us all, especially those provocateurs, those Republican provocateurs, those Democrat provocateurs, the agent provocateurs in protests, such as the one we saw where several blacks were shot not too long ago. I'll put it in the comments. They had on record a skinhead provocateur in the back of a police car who got in on his own accord to give his report because it was a government project. Now let me play this little clip of race and reality in America from the Kaiser Family Foundation. Kaiser is the same company that ripped off my father, the same company that contributed to eugenics, the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Germany. The same company. Kaiser means emperor. They are doing things on behalf of a corporate elite, saying that they're a non-profit organization.
The United States is often
But these polls are still important.
called the Great Melting Pot, but it's a country that's struggled with race relations throughout its history and still does today. A 2015 CNN and Kaiser Family Foundation poll found about half of Americans think racism is a big problem, one that doesn't seem to be getting better. 2/3 said racial tensions in the United States had increased over the last decade. More than half of blacks said they had experienced some form of racial discrimination in their lifetimes, from being denied a job to fearing for their lives.
Let's stop right there, okay? Keep in mind that the most famous black civil rights activist, the most influential one, is a traitor who happens to be a Muslim. I say he is a traitor because he talks about aliens and wheels coming to save black people. No such thing will happen. We see this with the Heaven's Gates cult. We see this with a lot of cults where they think magically they are chosen. And on record, they are CIA mind control operations, which has been introduced to the CIA and being done in the CIA on behalf of a bunch of rich occultists who control society.
Third of whites in
And that is why I bring up that, you know, at this point when they talked about how people say in the last 10 years it has gotten worse. It has gotten worse because of an agenda that started a long time ago, proceeded through 1951 to the early 70s, on record with MKUltra. The experiments never ceased. According to Victor Marchetti and anyone with common sense, it was just a cover story. They kept the covert drugging and experimentation. We saw the CIA bring in drugs into the black community. Cocaine. Okay? And then we see 9/11 and the Patriot Act. And there's a lot of other things too, but this just quick timeline. Quick partial timeline. Okay? And then we see, you know, the discrimination on blacks and so on. We see activities in Israel. Okay? What is going on here is they are cracking down on political dissidents for the purpose of eugenics. They are in a race. They know that people like me are on the verge of proving them wrong. So they needed to create a crisis which allows them to enforce white social norms and to go after political dissidents before they can change public opinion. And then we see the surveillance and the extension of the Patriot Act and Snowden and Assange. When you look at the timeline, when you look at the bigger picture, and you consider that the most successful people in society and the people who have the biggest impact on society always think long term. That's what it means to be a chess player and a revolutionary as well. Thinking long term.
Hispanics reported similar experiences. Blacks and Hispanics were also far more likely than whites to say that they had been unfairly treated in the last month in a public place, such as a restaurant or in a store, because of their race. Segregation is still a reality as well, at work and at home. 60% of whites said their work colleagues were all or mostly white, and close to 70% of whites said either their social circle or their neighborhood was mostly white. When asked if certain factors, like discrimination, a lack of educational opportunities, and broken families, played a major role in the social and economic problems facing their communities, the majority of blacks and Hispanics said yes. But even so, there is optimism. A majority of blacks and Hispanics aged 18 to 34 say it's easier for them to achieve the American dream than it was for their parents. Only 31% of young white adults said the same.
Okay, so this poll helps their liberal, mental health, multicultural, feminist, gay agenda. Okay? They're using this racist conflict with the police and the black community to help bring in a multicultural society and make people more conscious, as well as thoroughly define the line between the left and the right to keep them from going against the elite. Now, when you truly read into this with insight, you do not come to the conclusion that they want you to come to. Instead, you realize that they are dead wrong. Number one, the eugenicists are the reason for the major racist conflicts. And they are disproportionately secret society Jews who are trying to move people toward Israel, move Jews into Israel. Okay? They believe their people are naturally superior, and they want to compare themselves to a mixed world. You're going to have a lot of inbred white people who aren't too smart, and a bunch of mixed people who they will dumb down, as they dumb down the inbred white people as well, or the, more quote-unquote pure white people. Because when you look at academics, pure white people are not as likely to be successful intellectually these days than immigrants. And that also reflects in the poll, because the white people said that they were more likely to be, that were not necessarily more likely to be more successful than their parents, for two reasons. One is because, racism helped their parents be successful. Okay? Two is there isn't the racist pressure, being, alleviated in a manner that people, would open their arms to white people and allow their white privilege to play out. Okay? So, this is the mental health agenda. This is the gay agenda. This is the feminist agenda. This is the eugenics agenda. They're going to use abortion, wars, and mental health to go after the undesirables and the people they decide are inferior. Let's face it, from a eugenicist point of view, anybody who is stupid enough to fight in their wars is inferior. Anyone who doesn't have the network and the insight to escape the onslaught that happens as a result of their wars, to them, is inferior. Anybody who is labeled undesirable because of their inability to kiss ass and be assimilated by their mainstream social norms and psychiatric normalization, to them is inferior. Anybody who aborts their child, to them is more likely to be a poor person who didn't become rich and wasn't able to consider having a family because of their inability to assimilate and to succeed in their artificial ecosystem, their concrete jungle, their artificial construct. Therefore, to them, they are inferior. Okay, when you see eugenics has been going on since the beginning of this nation under different terms, and in the early 1900s it came out, and you see Cass Sunstein, one of who was at one point he was Obama's health czar. I don't know if he is now. I guess I'll put that in the comments. He was a eugenicist. You see Bill Gates, one of the richest people on the planet, a eugenicist. John D. Rockefeller, David Rockefeller's father, a eugenicist. This eugenicist-style world order. George Bush, Jeb Bush, George Bush's brother, running for president when his father said the rule of law, not the rule of the jungle. In other words, the rule of civilized man, not the rule of the undesirables. Eugenics, eugenics, eugenics. This is about eugenics and a globalist secret society agenda. And absolutely the right is a part of it, not just the left. They are the neocons. They are pushing the war. They are the racists. They support the rich and the subversion and oppression of the poor. I'm out of time. Like it or not, there are two answers to this situation. One which almost certainly won't happen because of their oppression and because I am being singled out by these people. The other you can do by yourself. You don't need anyone to help you. And the more people you tell, the more risk you're bringing to it. The first is for people to unite behind me, because I have proven myself as being uncontrolled opposition, the top martial artist in America, and I have done research for 21 years into all the most relevant, most pertinent components and parts of politics. It's not going to happen. People don't have the insight. They're not going to let my videos get out there. They're not going to let me emerge as a true leader with the people's best interest in mind, a spiritual man. I'm a Christian who has the utmost respect for Islam. Arguably a Christian and Muslim in one. And the two greatest civil rights activists of all time in America were one Christian, one a Muslim, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Historically, we have only freed ourselves from oppression in an uncontrolled manner when a Christian or a Muslim has done so. Nelson Mandela was a great warrior, but he believed that spirituality was key. In that aspect, he differed from most communists. So even the #1 communist civil rights activist believed that spirituality should not be oppressed by the state, and he cited it in his book, or in the book about him, the picture book I've referenced in my other videos. It cited that was one of the things that he was complaining about. White social norms keeping the people from their natural spiritual state. And not by forcing them to be Christians either. So when denied their dignity, self-respect, and spirituality, it was very easy to lead the people to more depravity and to try to project an image of a superior racial group and an inferior racial group, which is utter nonsense, because they put the two racial groups which do better than the average white person in America as the inferior racial group. Black Africans from Africa and Indians, People tend to be smarter than the average white person, right? So, the average one of them, so I think that's kind of, interesting how they did that, Anyway, so again, I don't think that any people are superior. I think that it's their culture. Western culture has failed the white man, and as much as it fails the other groups of people who accept it. We see typically white people, very few white people are very smart. Very few successful white people are smart. Typically we see white privilege and old money and white networking creating white success. We don't see hard work and ingenuity. And anyone who claims that I'm wrong is being very disingenuous, very intellectually dishonest. Shame on them. So the solution then becomes total war with the people behind the state. It is a mistake to fight with police officers, and to target them, not if you're targeting the real target. It is a mistake to fight with puppet government officials. You have to address the problem at its source. And what is the source? It is the super rich. It is the secret societies. It is all those who do not stand with the people. You need to shun them. You need to boycott them. And you need to target them for political nations. If you get my drift. That's what needs to be done. Of course, they have the opportunity to stop suppressing my videos, stop covertly drugging me, and let me lead the people into a world, not a world order, but a world for the people. No Zionist New World Order, no occultist New World Order, no white power structure, comprador elite, New World Order, but a world that is truly for the people, by the people. Not for the scum who lack humanity, but for humanity. So, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Even if I'm homeless and I'm paying my phone bill by recycling fucking cans, I will keep making videos. I will keep my top martial artist challenge out there. I will keep proving that I am the top martial artist and I am the most worthy political candidate to lead us into the future. And when I am homeless, if I am homeless, when I'm homeless, whatever the case may be, it will prove my point all the more. I'm willing to go there for the people. I'm willing to have my teeth rot, my hair fall out, and to constantly make videos about how I gave up everything so I could lead you into the future. Not a bunch of unscrupulous spiritual bottom feeders. I am a man of God. And if being a homeless person, wearing rags, just like the Messiah, is my fate, and that is an honorable fate, I have no problem with it. But I am a man of principle. I will not sit back and let a bunch of effeminate weaklings, a bunch of fucking racist, eugenicist, lowly, spiritual bottom feeders divide, conquer, drug, extort, exploit, deceive, betray, and do all sorts of sacrilegious abominations. Not on my watch. I would rather, oh so gracefully, stab them in the fucking neck. Not on my watch, big brother. And I refuse to let a bunch of eugenicists tell me how I am allowed to behave when they have betrayed and oppressed me. How I am allowed to express my anger. As long as I am not saying I am about to go kill you, as long as I am not hurting anybody, you need to shut the fuck up. If you want to drug someone so bad, drug yourselves. Leave me and my people out of it. And by my people, I mean all of mankind. My name is Chukwu Emeka. Chukwu is synonymous with Heru, but it also means God. God has done a great thing. All praises to God. I am part black, part white, and since I am an Igbo, there are rumors that have been partially substantiated that I descend from several Jewish tribes. I believe Gad, Naphtali, and Judah. I'll put it in the comments. So the idea that I'm racist against the oppressor is a fucking joke. The idea that I'm belittling African Americans when I am born in America is a fucking joke. The idea that I have a problem with anybody because of their race is a joke. But a culture of oppression is an inferior culture. A culture of eugenics is an inferior culture. A culture of denial is a despicable falsehood that I intend to address.